He's the power washes, bro.
Honestly, the UFL is so much more entertaining.
Alright guys, and you have to help me reach my quota on time here, because I think it'll shut off after a certain amount of minutes.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't hit a single shot over 50 yards.
Under 50.
You shouldn't hit a single shot under 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, who thinks
Probably the worst
they
golfer.
came up with a pretty good response, or they had assistance,
Echo.
coming up with a pretty good response to this question? What's the difference between fine art and photojournalism? How can you look at a photo and know which category it falls into? Any ideas?
No ideas here.
Actually, you should power wash.
Oh yeah, that's the spot.
About this first table, any responses? What about a criteria for fine art? What do you see when you look at fine art? Okay, what did ChatGPT say? Any ideas?
This part.
They said,
Oh, that's what I was wondering.
Who's reading it over there, Jack?
No, Hamza is.
Oh, Hamza? Yeah, what did it say? Maybe sum it up.
fine
Well,
art is
obviously, we
for,
don't want
like-
all that, but.
fine art is like, for aesthetic
Okay,
and like expression.
okay,
This
And
one.
then
that.
photojournalism
That's
is
so
like
good.
documenting stuff.
Okay. There we go. So documenting fact versus fiction, right? So it has to be true. How do we know if a photo is true? How do we know if it's accurate? Is there any way we can tell in these days of AI? Maybe the reputation of the journal in which it appears. They know they check the metadata, maybe, is that how you say it? Metadata on the photo to know that it hasn't been altered. So there are ways to see if a photo's been altered
You
digitally.
have to drive there.
Okay, anything else? Did someone get a different response from ChatGPT besides aesthetic expression versus documenting an event? Okay, let's think about this question as we go, and then we'll circle back to it as we see more examples. Okay, so this is an example from one of Gordon Parks' most famous photo essays. This was called The Segregation Story. He followed a family around during Jim Crow South named the Thornton family. He lived with them for an entire year. And he just brought his camera and went on, daily walks with them wherever they went, followed them around, and photographed kind of just the everyday moments of them getting ice cream, of them going to a playground, but also captured kind of that seedy underbelly of this racism that was going on in the South. And then he published all of these photographs in Life magazine. There's only 24 photographs in this collection. And it hit the stands and made a huge impact. So his photographs really helped to lead to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And there was actually a lot more than 24 photographs. They did not know that they existed. After he passed away, they found a box of like over 200 of his colored negatives. So they've had a lot more coming out recently from this photo essay that he created. Okay. So today we're going to talk both about the photo story, kind of inspired by Gordon Parks and others, as well as our great publication department that we have here on campus. I don't know. I don't know which bridge it is. I just picked it because it looked really cool at night with all the lights. So, the first due date is going to be your Lights at Night project. We're going to do that all together. So you don't necessarily have to go out at night and take pictures if you don't want to. You're welcome to. But we will have enough time during class where you can do that all here. We'll turn off the lights. We'll do some light painting with like LED lights and fiber optic effects, so we'll look at some examples of that. That'll be due on May 15th, so you may want to put that in your planner. And then our photo story will be due towards the end of the semester, May 22nd. And seniors, you guys only have to do the lights at night. You won't have to do the photo story since you won't be here. So those are our last two projects. I just wanted to take a look at some examples of both before we go take our photo walk. Okay, Versailles is a famous photographer that really popularized this idea of taking pictures at night. He used a 35mm film camera back in the 1930s, which was a lot more versatile than some of the big, cumbersome, bigger format cameras that people had to use before that. So he was able to take pictures with a higher ISO, with a longer shutter speed. He would use a tripod so that maybe, people would be moving in and out of his scenes, cars would be moving, but the place, Paris, would stay the same. So he really helped to document Paris at night at the time. So he's from Transylvania, which is kind of convenient for a photographer focused on the nightlife of Paris. So what do you guys think? Why would a photographer want to take pictures at night?
Because a lot of photographers take pictures during the day.
Okay, so just to separate your work from everyone else's, it looks unique. Okay. Benny, did you say something?
It kind of like looks way more nicer.
Okay, so the aesthetics of it, we're talking back to, what is this? Photojournalism or fine art? What do you think? We just had to document
That
it.
is fine. No, that's photojournalism.
Okay, why is it photojournalism? What was his purpose for taking the photo?
Use it for lights.
Okay, so maybe he was focused on the lights, maybe he was focused on the aesthetics of the lights and contrast. These are cars, yeah, so these would be like headlights. So who has a guess as to how long the shutter speed might be to create light trails like that?
Long.
Long, like what? What's an example of a long shutter speed? Like 1,000th of a second, is that long?
No.
No, what's long? It could be more than a second. How long does it take a car to get from here to there?
3 seconds.
Okay, maybe a 3-second exposure. Typically 8 seconds is a good enough exposure to get a picture at night. So when we start taking pictures with the low lights and we turn out the lights, 8 seconds is a good time. Okay, just some other facts about Versailles. He moved to Paris in 1924. He was born in Transylvania. He started out interested in painting and then moved into photography as a way to express himself. So yes, he was more interested in the fine art side of photography. He produced a photo book called Paris by Night. Guys, if you could tilt your screens down halfway at least, just so I know you're listening. Halfway. And if we need ChatGPT again, we'll open them back up. So Paris by Night was his first photo book in 1933. So he focused on like atmospheric effects, but also the people that were out at night in Paris. If you imagine what types of people those might be and what activities they might be up to late at night in Parisian nightlife. Okay, so the mystery of place, solitude and a heightened sense of the nature of things. Night photography seems a worthy vehicle, a ritual to express these themes. So we can use color with night photography if you choose to make your pictures black and white. We already did a black and white unit, so you can see why you might want to choose color versus black and white. We have different colored flashlights and colored gel, filters and everything, so you might want to use color for this project to really express yourself. You can do environmental photos at night. Here's another one of those exposures that might be more like 30 seconds, where you can see the trails of light. I'd say at least 8 seconds for night photography, but you can go up to maybe many hours for this one to see the rotation of the Earth in relation to the stars. You can use artificial lighting. This one's an example of how the night portrait setting works on your camera. So it fires the flash, but then it leaves the shutter open for an extended period of time to allow the background to be exposed. So you can experiment with that mode. We'll just be using manual mode though. But yeah, if you're going to a concert, that might be a great opportunity for taking pictures at night. If you already went to a concert and you have some photos, just make sure it's from this semester. They have to be relatively new. Okay, how can night photography convey a mood or emotions? What moods do you see here?
Someone knocked, that's obviously pinched. Someone knocked out. There's no way.
Which one?
How's the sky purple?
This, you mean blue? Well, in Photoshop, you can make whatever color you want, right?
So it's not real.
So does it have to be in camera for it to be a work of art?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we just use camera as our paintbrush, as our tool? Do we use Photoshop in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's allowed. What if your purpose as an artist, depends on your purpose, right? What if your purpose is to convey a mood? Which mood does this photo convey? You said eerie? Alright, let's see, Shay. Pick a photo. Which one conveys a mood to you?
They found it.
We're listening to Shay right now. Hold on. The top right? Okay, what's the mood that you see?
Like, you know, what's the word?
Spooky, yeah. Why does this one convey a spooky mood, whereas these two might be more calm or tranquil?
Because like the moon,
Statue.
Yeah, we have a street light, sort of a dark city scene. We don't know who's
Statue.
around the corner. There's that spooky statue that's kind of in silhouette.
Sky.
Okay, yeah, so the mystery maybe gives it more of like a mysterious mood or a creepy mood. Okay, this one you can only capture with a long exposure at night. During the day, it's really hard to get ethereal looking water blur like that. So if you have a long exposure, the splashes end up just looking like smooth water. So that's why at night you can take some very very peaceful looking water scenes, because you don't get all the splashes from individual, unless you fire a flash. Okay, here's just some other examples by Brassai, kind of the master of night photography from the 1930s in Paris. Okay, so here's the technique we're going to be using starting next week. So the zoo, we're focused on what? Nature. Next week we're going to be focused on lights at night, doing something called light painting. Yes, Penny, do you have a question? Okay. So, and we'll go over this again, but the technique for night painting or light painting is to put your camera in manual mode and then go to something called bulb. So bulb is just the letter B on your camera. It's the longest exposure. So it will allow you to hold the button down and it'll keep your shutter open as long as your finger's on the button. So it's what's called a custom exposure. So typically a good setting in order to get a picture in the dark, if your eyes can see, your camera can take a picture, but you just have to use a lot of time. So I use what's called the rule of 8. So it's 8 seconds that you keep your finger on the button, on the trigger button. F8, so that you have a relatively great depth of field, that's your aperture. And then ISO 800, so that it's somewhat more sensitive to light than normal. Normal is like ISO 400. So ISO 800, F8 at 8 seconds. Those are our settings. I'll have those written on the board for the whole unit. So hopefully you'll get that memorized and be able to take some great photos in the dark. Also, why do you think you need to use a tripod?
Because if you like move it around, it'll look super weird.
Yeah, because you can't possibly hold a camera steady for 8 seconds. You might think that you can, but it'll be blurry. Okay, and then you just paint your subject with light. We'll use models if you guys want to volunteer to be subject for the photographs, and we'll look at a couple of examples here in a second. Here's some different light painting examples. You can fire a flash and have your subject move multiple times in one frame. Here's some outdoor scenes with light painting. Long exposures, anywhere from 8 to 30 seconds qualify. Okay. Oops. Again, this is due on May 15th. 50 photos. So since these two projects take a little bit longer, instead of 100, I'm just going to have you guys do 50 photos for each. So they're each kind of like 2 half assignments. And we're just going to kind of put them together and turn them in at different times. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Because light painting, it takes a while. You have to have a long exposure. You have to set up your focus. Which, by the way, you want to have manual focus because your camera can't find focus in the dark. So So we'll go over more as we start shooting. Any questions about your night unit? Due on the 15th of May. 5 finals, just like every other project. 5 to 10. You can always turn in more than 5. Okay, now let's talk about your photo stories. So you guys are going to be telling stories. They don't have to be as lofty as the segregation story by Gordon Parks. You can have a simple story, but I want you to think about that story arc. So like, your rising action, the climax, the falling action, the resolution. Usually stories have a beginning. Somehow you can set the setting. So you can tell a story with your 5 images, or if you want to reveal a whole, you could take pictures of different parts. So if you're thinking about, maybe someone has a horse, if you have a horse, or you go horseback riding, you could take a picture of the face of the horse, you could take a picture of the stirrups, you could take a picture of the horseshoe. What are some other parts of the horse? Or horseback riding, what else comes to mind? A tail, you could have a picture of the saddle, and then maybe the final picture, the big reveal, or the mane. The big reveal could be the horse itself, right? Or you riding the horse into the sunset. So those are the 2 approaches that you can take to this story. Or, as Mason pointed out, you can do like a time-lapse thing of like someone running. So the different sequence of events of a particular action. Okay. So again, here's that story arc. So there's usually some type of like background information setting the scene. There's like an incident, usually a conflict of some kind. There's rising action, tension. So you can think of different parts of the story that you can illustrate. So let's think of a story like from Disney. What's a Disney story that we all know?
Cinderella.
Okay, Cinderella. What is the background information that might be a good photo to take of telling that Cinderella story? What could you take a picture of for Cinderella's background? Well, we didn't get to the shoe yet, right at the beginning. What's the beginning? Hold on. Oh, we're on so many different pages right now. Let's bring it back together. If you want to respond, raise your hand. The shoe is at the end. I'm talking about the beginning.
The pumpkin.
Hold on. Raise your hand. I know we all love Cinderella so much we all want to respond, but let's raise your hands. Okay, I saw Julia's hand first, and then we'll go over here to Jack. Yes, Julia, what's... Okay, her doing chores. Maybe she's in the fireplace, or scrubbing or something, okay? What else? Or are you gonna do the next one?
The sisters.
Yes, maybe the evil stepsisters, like kicking dirt on her or something mean. Okay, what about that first conflict? What was a conflict in Cinderella? There could be multiple.
Didn't the sisters like leave?
I think they were invited to the, I almost said prom, it was not the prom. They were invited to the ball, so maybe an invitation arrives in the mail. What's some rising action? Usually involving animals in Disney movies.
Sorry?
What was some rising action? Major events.
Oh.
How did she make a dress? Yeah, with the rats or the mice. Okay, so maybe making a dress. And then what's the climax? The most suspenseful part. When like everything falls apart. What happened? The evil stepmother said what? You're not going. Like, yeah, she destroyed her dress. Falling action would be some events unravel that leads to the resolution. So she actually goes to the ball. There's a lot of rising action in Cinderella, actually. The climax would really be what? I think it was the shoe. I think the shoe being on the stairs was the climax. Okay, but anyway, you just pick any 5 photos within that story arc. Okay, let's do a couple of examples. We already talked a little bit about Gordon Parks, his work for Life magazine. Some interesting facts about Gordon Parks. He was born in Kansas as one of 15 children. So he was born into poverty. He was inspired to become a photographer by photos he saw by the Farm and Securities Administration of the Great Depression that helped to bring about the New Deal. So he saw how photography could change minds. And how it could be a tool to fight racism and all sorts of social injustices. So he moved, as a young man, he moved to Chicago, and he hadn't really seen a lot of discrimination where he lived in Kansas in a small town. So when he got to Chicago, his publisher told him to go get a cup of coffee and go see a movie at a movie theater and come back. Well, he was unable to do either of those two things. So he came back with this like fire in his belly to help fight racism with his photographs. So that's what he did for Life magazine. All right, so here's some other examples of his beautiful work. So they were aesthetically pleasing photographs, but very, very also jarring, documenting what was really going on at the time. Okay, W. Eugene Smith. Guys, this is being recorded, so your voices will be on the recording saying whatever it is you're talking about. For all the people that were absent, we can listen to you. Okay, W. Eugene Smith was an American photojournalist. He fought in, he didn't fight in World War II. He took pictures in World War II, but he was injured. So it took 2 years to recover from his injury before coming back to Life magazine. He was a freelance photographer that had worked for lots of different magazines. And in 1955, he was asked to contribute to a book about Pittsburgh. It was called The Pittsburgh Story. So he was inspired by Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. It was a series of 12 poems, and he kind of saw the photo narrative as that, like a series of so many photos that kind of help tell, almost like in poetry form, the story of a place. So his Pittsburgh Story took he spent 3 weeks producing 100 photographs for this book.
Wow.
Yes, that's a lot.
A lot of pictures.
He also did a story called Country Doctor, where he went and stayed with a country doctor for a period of several months. And this is an example, Dr. Seriani, after he has lost a patient. So this is, would this be photojournalism or fine art? What do you think? It's technically a portrait, right? So it's a picture of a person.
Photojournalism.
Why is it photojournalism?
And they're catching like,
Cameo.
okay,
What'd you say, Benny?
because they're catching like pictures like,
Oh,
Yeah, so this is how he's actually
IRL.
capturing the real emotion, IRL, after he's lost a patient, just as you imagine what that feels like. You can kind of read that emotion on his face. So it was not arranged at all by the photographer. The photographer did not tell him to stand that way or pose. What about this image down here by Gordon Parks? So remember, Gordon Parks was a Renaissance man. He did a lot of things. So he made fine art as well as photojournalism. So was this an example? He saw this washerwoman as Ella Watson as he was walking past. This is in the building where he worked. And he told her to stand in front of this American flag and hold up the tools that she was working with, a broom and a mop. And he was referencing this painting down here, American Gothic. So what do you think? Is this one fine art or is this photojournalism? Why do you say fine art, Joel?
Because like he told her to stand there, and like he had an idea of what he wanted it to look like.
Yeah, so it's more conceptual. You saw the similarity between like the expression on her face and the expression on these grim farmers' faces. So it kind of tells more of a story conceptually. Okay, so this next activity, you guys are going to need one of the dots on the center of your table. They're double-sided, so each one has a pink side or a yellow side. So we're going to do some voting. So grab a dot. Fine art or photojournalism. We're going to quiz your knowledge. So everyone needs a dot.
I mean, I just didn't know about the
Oh no, there's plenty. There's plenty more. If you drop one, you can get another.
knowledge. About what?
Okay.
4 dots.
All right, so I wrote the key on the board. So I'm going to show you this series. I think there's 7. So 7 different photographs. And for each, if you think it's fine art, you're going to hold up pink. You're going to show me the pink side of your dot. And if you think it's photojournalism, you're going to hold up yellow. Okay, and we'll have a little quick discussion about each one. Are you ready? All right, so what did we say was the definition? Was the difference between fine art and photojournalism?
A little bit of different.
So fine art has that sense of self-expression. So the artist is trying to express something, maybe about an idea, maybe about themselves. about the world in which they live. They're looking at, something from an aesthetic point of view. Is it beautiful? Does it express the elements and principles like pattern and repetition, shapes and lines, okay? And then photojournalism is it's true, it's documenting something that really happened, it's not changed at all by the photographer. They have not set the scene at all. It is 100% true. Okay, is that kind of where we are with our definitions?
What are they doing here?
Alright, so get your dots ready. Pink is what? Fine art. Yellow is photojournalism. Okay, here's the first one. I'm not gonna give you any context, I'll just let you try and guess. Alright, it doesn't require talking.
Which one's
Just
fine
hold up
art?
your dot. Is it fine art or photojournalism?
Actually, photojournalism.
Obviously,
Actually,
It's obviously photojournalism.
Fine art.
obviously fine art.
Are you
kidding
kidding
me?
me?
Photojournalism.
Y'all kidding me right
I'm
now?
seeing a lot more yellow than pink. Why? Who
$50
wants to
on
defend the
photojournalism.
yellow
What
side?
I got it.
Okay, Jack, what do you think?
Cause he's like walking in a forest and it's all like dark and the mood's like gloomy, so maybe it's like deforestation, something brings blood.
Okay, let's go.
Obviously not. Obviously not. Where's the
There's
fire?
this chainsaw
Wild
right here
take.
in the doctor's bag. Okay, so it could be about deforestation. Any other guesses?
Where do you see it's a chainsaw?
I'm just kidding.
Uh-oh.
It's not a chainsaw. This is a doctor's bag.
Jack thought he was onto something.
This is a bag that a doctor would carry. Does that change anyone's vote?
Same thing.
What do you think's happening
He's a
here?
doctor.
Maybe
He's killing the trees.
Yeah, so this is from The Country Doctor by W. Gene Smith. So remember he followed the doctor around, went to work with him every day. So the country doctor would actually make house calls. So he was going to someone's house to help them. So is this photojournalism or fine art?
Journalism.
Yeah, this is photojournalism. Very good.
Why?
Okay, ready for the next one? Get your dots ready. Okay, what do you
Easily
think?
pink.
Fine art or photojournalism?
That's photojournalism.
What do we have here?
There's fire coming, so it's
Oh, because it's deforestation.
No.
This is the result
No,
of
it's
deforestation.
explosion.
Seeing a lot of
Talking about the
pinks.
war.
Okay, would anyone like to defend the pink side? Why is
When I
this
saw
fine
it,
art?
it was like
What
completely
do you think,
different.
Mason?
The way they fixed all that in the last 10 seconds.
Okay, so nothing's really gonna be changed here unless you have maybe different weather. But it's kind of set in stone. I like how you said that, no pun intended, right? So there's not like maybe a journalistic story going on unless it's a story about the architecture of Paris. So this is by Versailles, photo at night, capturing the beauty of Parisian streets by night. He liked to capture different
Yeah, I'll turn it.
moods as well with the different weather. Okay, so if you had pink, then you're right, that's fine art.
Yeah.
Okay, here's our next one. We've seen this before, yes?
Malala.
Hold 'em up high.
Oh, this is
Yellow.
this is
Is this photojournalism or is this fine art? A lot of people are not voting.
it's fluctuating.
We're confused.
probably go fine.
That's photojournalism. That's
Ooh, pretty much all yellow. Okay, why? Why are we saying it's photojournalism?
Nature
Does anybody remember the story behind this
Maybe she's
photo?
connected
Grace?
with the
She wasn't
deforestation.
like posing.
Dude.
Maybe not.
Yeah, so this was the very first photo that had ever been taken of Sharbat Gula, at the time Afghan girl, but she was anonymous. So she didn't know what was happening. He was taking a picture without her permission. In some cultures, it's actually considered like stealing their soul to take their photo, so it's kind of
Why
a
do you do that?
controversial photo. Does anyone know why it's so famous?
Because he stole her
Because-
She
soul.
didn't know it was given anything.
For some
Okay,
reason,
so
they
she
stole.
didn't know it was being taken. Anything else? Where did it appear?
You stole my soul.
In which publication?
First, you don't need to put your stuff away. I'll be back in a minute.
Starts with an N, and they're also really known for their nature photos.
New York
You see
Times.
what?
No.
He easily will.
National Geographic.
National Geographic, very good. 1985 was the cover for National Geographic.
I'm calling it the next one's fine art. I knew it.
Okay, oh, all right.
I had this one for one of my identifying
Email.
positions.
Oh, you remember, okay.
Who's it by? Who's it by?
This one was by,
I'd be really impressed if you.
Oh.
Starts with,
I did
his
this in my
last name
identifying
starts with a
composition.
W.
Arnold Newman.
Starts with the what?
A W.
What?
Jack Walker.
William.
He's a nature photographer.
Oh, no, I
No, no,
forgot.
no. Okay, hold up your dots.
Daniel Corbin.
W.
Hold up your dots. What color? Make sure you have
John Jones.
No. That's a valiant effort.
W, W.
Okay, I see a lot of pinks. Why? Why is
Alex
this pink and
Pereira.
not
You're a
yellow?
little comedian.
What story could it possibly tell?
Photojournalism.
Maybe it's a story
It's
about
about a
rotten
wave.
cabbage or something.
It's obviously fine art.
It's about a sea.
What is the
I
main
see that's
purpose
lost
of
in
just
time.
taking this photo?
That is not the
To make it look nice.
Yes, it is.
Capture a beautiful photo, right? He did a whole series of vegetables. He had peppers and
Who's W?
How's
all
it a
kinds of
vegetable?
things.
W-
That's
W-
cabbage.
Where's the vegetable?
Who is
It's
this?
a cabbage.
W.E.B. Du Bois.
Oh.
This Edward West.
I forgot who this guy was.
Edward West.
So it's
Because
photojournalism.
Oh,
No, this
I
one's
knew I had
fine art.
Edward. I did have Edward.
it's more to
What
capture
is the
a
cabbage?
beautiful photograph. Huh?
Where's the cabbage?
Did you say where is the cabbage?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Oh, it's like a leaf. You know how you like peel off a leaf from a cabbage?
Did it-
Just the leaf.
George, why haven't
He
you left?
probably ate it afterwards, yes.
Oh,
I
yeah, I
would.
can't leave on.
It's an email, there's no call.
Okay, now we're gonna see 3 by
Where are we
Gordon
going? Are we right
Parks.
Yeah.
So all
Yes.
3 of these are by
Where are we
Gordon Parks, and I'm curious to see if you can tell the difference between when he's being a photojournalist
Harry's,
and when
Harry's
he's
spamming
being an
you.
artist. Okay, are you guys ready?
Where are you going?
High confidence. We'll make it a competition. Which table can get them right? We have 3 tables.
Are we winning?
Okay, ready, set. Let me make sure I'm not lying. Okay, here's the first one by Gordon Parks. Is this fine art or photojournalism?
Leave.
Oh, this one is.
Can I leave? Fine art, fine art, fine art.
Where are you
I
going?
got you go.
Okay, sounds good.
Are you sure?
Fine art.
Photojournalism.
Oh,
Hamza.
you gotta watch your language.
Fine art, which
You're
one's fine
you're
art?
being recorded.
Which one's fine art?
Oh,
Oh, fine art is pink.
Yeah, come here.
are you guys sure?
Pink, pink, pink.
Photojournalism.
Guys,
You
I
guys
think it's
can go over here.
Why would he be
One
holding
yellow.
up those
Bye,
two
Bear.
things, dude?
Bye, Bear.
I was in photojournalism.
Pink.
Okay.
Okay, let's see the next one. I'm not gonna tell you.
It's fine art, are you kidding me, Jay?
It's obviously
Are you sure?
Okay, what about this
Are
one?
you super
I
sure?
mean, that's clearly.
This
This
was
one is
obviously
also by Gordon
photojournalism.
Parks.
Alright, are you sure, guys?
Gordon Parks is a
Like,
Renaissance
there's a
man.
lot.
He is a Renaissance man. He's good at many
Wait, is this
things.
like Gordon Parks?
This is by Gordon Parks.
That's what photojournalism.
Ow.
Does it have to be?
I just said that, Jack.
You guys, I think we're done with our presentation after this. I think you guys are ready for a walk. You ready for a walk? Okay, we'll do our last one when we come back from our walk.
Oh, wait.
So, to be continued. I'm gonna go ahead and unlock the cabinet door. Let's see, I think that table over there was the best behaved during our presentation. So you guys get to go get your cameras first.
I did, I turned it in.
Oh, I know, but you know,
How's it, dude?
guilty
Yeah,
by
yeah,
interaction.
The reason why we can't
How is it me? Wow. Yapping? I was not talking. You're just like what?
Yeah.
And it's on the recording.
Hey, Cliff, you
have
need
to
to
record
hear
it.
me.
Okay, let me stop the recording.
I don't know what you're mute.
What did I do?
Could it be more clear?